I'm 84 years old, and I learned something terrifying the day my son stopped seeing my house as a home and started seeing it as a warning sign. That is how it begins for many people after 70. Not with an ambulance, not with a diagnosis, but with one quiet visit from your children, one slow look around the room, one uncomfortable silence that lasts a second too long, then a sentence that sounds caring but changes everything. Dad, maybe this house is becoming too much for you now. The moment he said those words, something cold moved through my chest because suddenly I realized he was no longer seeing the man who built this house with his own hands. He was seeing an old man struggling to manage it. And the worst part was this: deep down, part of me knew he was not completely wrong. My name is Henry. I'm 84 years old, and a few months ago, my son came over on a rainy Sunday afternoon. I still remember hearing his shoes squeak slightly on the wet floor near the entrance. He walked slowly through the hallway without saying much. His eyes stopped on stacks of unopened mail beside the stairs, old newspapers near my chair, boxes I had not opened in years, a broken lamp sitting in the corner waiting to be fixed someday. Then he noticed the small step stool in my kitchen because I could no longer comfortably reach the top shelves. He looked at it for half a second, but after 80 half a second is enough to understand everything. Silence speaks loudly in old age, and right there I understood something painful. After a certain age, clutter stops looking like clutter. It starts looking like evidence. Evidence that maybe you cannot handle your life alone anymore. Before we go further, if protecting your independence matters to you, like this video, please, because many older people do not lose their freedom overnight. They lose it slowly through small signs they stop noticing themselves. My son finally sat down at the kitchen table and used that soft, careful voice families use when they think you are becoming fragile. Wouldn't somewhere smaller feel easier for you now? Easier. That is the word people use today. Not assisted living, not nursing home, easier. But I knew exactly what he meant. And for the first time in my life, I felt old inside my own home. That house was not just property to me, it was my life. Christmas mornings with my wife laughing in the kitchen, pencil marks on the hallway wall showing how tall the kids had grown each year. My favorite chair near the window where I drank coffee every morning after my wife passed away. But that evening, I looked around differently. I stopped seeing memories. I started seeing weight, maintenance, risk, warning signs, and suddenly I realized something terrifying. If I did not take back control of my house now, eventually someone else would try to take control of my life. That realization hit me harder than aging itself. Because after 80, freedom becomes fragile, and people notice before you do. So, like many older people, I tried to organize everything instead of facing the real problem. I bought plastic bins, labels, shelves, storage boxes. I thought being organized would solve it. But somehow the house looked even fuller afterward because the real problem was never storage. The real problem was emotional weight. And almost nobody talks honestly about this after 70. People are not holding on to objects anymore. They are holding on to pieces of themselves. One afternoon, I opened an old box filled with my wife's sweaters. I had not touched them since the funeral. I picked one up slowly and held it against my chest. For a second, I could still smell traces of her perfume. Then a terrible thought entered my mind. If I let this go, am I losing her all over again? That is why this becomes so painful. Objects stop being objects. They become grief. They become guilt. They become people you are terrified to lose twice. And over time, those emotions quietly fill every room in your house until your home no longer feels peaceful. It feels heavy. Grief takes up physical space. Then I found old jackets I kept just in case, pants that no longer fit me, boxes of cables for machines I did not even own anymore, tools I could barely lift with my hands now. And suddenly, I understood something else. Some objects do not only take space in your home, they take space in your mind. Every single day, they remind you of a version of yourself that no longer exists. And that realization is brutal after 80, because aging already forces you to let go of enough. And if this already feels familiar to you, please like the video and subscribe because What I'm about to explain next is exactly how many older people quietly lose control over their own lives without realizing it until it's too late. Then something happened that embarrassed me more than I expected. One morning, I spent 15 minutes looking for my glasses. I searched the kitchen, the bedroom, the bathroom. I could feel frustration building in my chest. Finally, I found them buried under old papers on the dining table. I looked up and saw my son quietly watching me from across the room. He did not say anything, but his face changed slightly. And in that moment, I understood something painful. A cluttered home changes how people look at you. One unopened box can change how your children see you. Then I made a mistake that almost made everything worse. I asked my children what I should keep. I thought they would understand the emotional meaning behind certain things, but they were not seeing emotions anymore. They were seeing risk. I held up my wife's dishes. They saw packed cabinets. I showed them my old workshop tools. They saw dangerous clutter collecting dust. I explained why I kept certain boxes. They exchanged silent looks with each other across the room. And something inside me broke. My children were no longer seeing the home I loved. They were measuring what I could still manage. That is the frightening part about aging nobody prepares you for. People quietly begin evaluating your independence through your stairs, your kitchen, your memory, your bathroom, your clutter, through tiny details you barely notice yourself anymore. Freedom disappears quietly long before people realize it is happening. One morning, I woke up exhausted from thinking about all of it. So I stopped asking emotional questions and asked myself a different one instead. Not did this matter to my life, but does this still improve my life today? That question changed everything. I threw away broken electronics, donated bags of clothes, cleared shelves I had not touched in years. At first, it hurts badly. Some moments even felt like betrayal, but then something unexpected happened. The lighter my house became, the lighter my mind became too. I could breathe easier, walk easier, clean easier, think easier. My home stopped feeling like something collapsing around me. It felt peaceful again, controlled again, mine again. Freedom needs space to survive. A few weeks later, my son came back over. He walked slowly through the living room again, but this time his expression looked different. No concern, no tension. Then he smiled slightly and said something I will never forget. Dad, this feels really good now. And for the first time in months, that word did not hurt me, because this time what he really meant was something else entirely. He meant, you're still managing your life. That moment gave me back something I thought aging had already started taking away from me: dignity. So remember this carefully. After 70, the real danger is not clutter itself. The real danger is when your environment starts giving other people reasons to question whether you can still live independently. And if this video resonated with you, please subscribe now, because the next video may help you protect the one thing many people lose quietly after 70: control over their own life. And remember, independence is fragile after a certain age. And sometimes protecting it means letting go of things you thought you could never release, because the truth is simple. The real luxury after 80 is not owning more things. The real luxury is still being trusted to live life on your own terms. I'm Henry, and I'll see you in the next video.